Not only are knives a common topic of conversation when discussing all things prepping, but most of my favorite hobbies also involve using a knife of some sort. So in this Great Lakes prepping video, I want to talk about knives. Something to know about me is, I'm sure like most of you, I like finding a good deal. I like only spending as much money as I need to on something. When it comes to knives, you can spend an awful lot of money to get a quality piece of equipment, but there's also a lot of great finds out there that don't break the bank. And so in all my years of buying and losing and breaking knives, I've sort of set out to make it a point to try to buy the best quality knives I can for a reasonable price. So in this video, I'm going to talk about my favorite knives, $50 and under. So let's get started with my number one favorite knife. This is the Kershaw Blur folding knife. And there's a lot of reasons why this is my number one favorite. I first started buying Kershaw knives some years ago. I hadn't actually heard of them up to about 12 years ago. And I bought one for a gift for somebody. And I think I liked it more than the person I gave it to did. So I looked around, I bought a couple of different ones, but I think the third one I bought was the Blur. And I liked it so much because it was just the right size. It had a good belt clip, a really nice blade. I'm more a fan of a non-serrated blade. But the coolest feature of this knife is its opening mechanism. It's spring assisted. And rather than doing one of these kind of motions like a lot of pocket knives, you simply push slightly forward on this small thumb stud and it just fires open. Now I've had this exact knife about a year and a half. Before that I had a black handled one for 8 or 9 years, and I lost it a bunch of times and I managed to find it every single time. It would fall out of my pocket at restaurants and I'd call back and they'd have it. But one fateful day, I lost it somewhere and I was never able to get it back. So as soon as I could, I went online and I ordered another one. The only difference is I got the one with the greenish handle. It's got this proprietary Kershaw sort of grip material on the handle. It's just very comfortable. It keeps a great edge on it. And, this is my favorite knife as far as quality and just how much I happen to like the look and feel of it. But I also picked a pocket knife as my favorite because it can be with me everywhere. It's not the perfect knife for every single application, but if I only ever had to use one knife again for some reason, I believe I would pick the Kershaw Blur. Now, I got this particular knife for $50, which is why I felt okay to put it on the list of knives that are $50 and under. But I will add the disclaimer that there's several different versions of this same knife, and some of them cost less and some of them cost a lot more. They come in different types of blades, different metals, serrated, tanto. There's different style handles as far as the color. Some have crazy designs on them. This is the very basic one, non-serrated blade, non-tanto blade, pretty ordinary color on the handle. And the price fluctuates on Amazon, but at the time I got this one, it was about $50. Ordinarily, it might be more like around $65. All right, number two. I mentioned knives being useful in most of my hobbies. Well, cooking is a big one of my hobbies. I do a lot of cooking. Sometimes very elaborate outdoor cooking in my kitchen, you name it. And this 2-0 Cutlery Santoku knife accompanies me pretty much anywhere that I plan to do some cooking. I'll take this in the woods with me. I'll take it camping, hunting. If I'm going to be cooking at a friend or family member's house, I'll bring this knife with me. I've had a few Santoku chef knives before. I've had a KitchenAid brand one that was very good. And when that one kindly, was on its last legs, I decided to buy one that was a little nicer. But again, I don't want to spend a ton of money because knowing me, I'm gonna mess it up somehow, and I'd rather not mess up a $200 Japanese chef knife. So I found this brand on Amazon. It's Tuo Cutlery, Tuo, and this knife right here I got for just about $30. It's got a good feel to it. The blade's really nice looking. The handle's really nice looking. It's got this great wood grain to it. It came very sharp, and it stays sharp for a while. And when I sharpen it, well, it gets even sharper. So this is my number one knife for all things cooking. Now again, these are in no particular order, but in line with the hobbies. This is one of my hunting knives. I actually received this as a gift from my good friend for Christmas one year. And this is the Cold Steel SRK hunting knife. And this is a really awesome knife. It looks great. It's very heavy. The handle has got this rubberized texture to it. It's super non-slip. They also make this blade in a Tanto version, but I think my buddy knows what I like and got me the non-Tanto style. The blade's super thick and very durable, and while that's a good quality for some things, I actually found it not to be the perfect knife for field dressing a deer. It's very sharp, but it is not scalpel precise. So it does a good job getting started, but once you have to do some of the more finer maneuvers, a smaller, thinner knife, probably more designed for field dressing, would be preferable. I actually keep this in my go bag because if nothing else, it's a great all-around heavy-duty knife. I'm sure that I could use it for batoning. I could go Rambo and attach it to a stick and use it to, skewer a wild boar, because I'm sure that's realistic. It's a really quality knife, and right now you can get this knife on Amazon for just about $50. Well, no prepper video about knives would be complete without at least an honorable mention of a Mora knife. After reading a lot of buzz and high praises about Mora knives online, I saw one for sale on Amazon. They're ordinarily not very expensive anyway. This one was on sale for about $15. Now this is the Mora Craftline Robust Trade Knife. That's according to the description on the website. Now people seem to love the Mora knives because they're high quality for the price. And I would say that I agree with that. I would say that it seems pretty high quality for the price. A little lower quality than I'd prefer, but in a pinch, this knife would be awesome to have. The blade's very thick. It's very sturdy. I'm sure that this thing could put up with a lot of torture. And for as wide and thick as this blade is, it's very sharp. Whatever they did to this thing, they got it awfully sharp. Now, I haven't actually really used this for much, so I can't speak to how well it holds that edge. My biggest complaint with it is how lightweight the handle is. And I guess that could seem like a perk, being lightweight, but it's so light that the balance of it feels really off to me because of this thick, stubby blade and this really light handle. And being so light, I can't help but also wonder if it's just going to be cheap and break easily. It's also got this sort of end plate on it that looks like it could be used for hammering something, but it's again just pretty average feeling plastic. All right, speaking about hobbies again, fishing. No fishing kit is complete without a decent fillet knife. Now, I'm not a real hardcore fisherman, and I'm definitely not a fishing equipment snob. So this is just an ordinary Rapala Fillet knife. I bought it at a bait and tackle store somewhere up north one time when I needed one and just didn't have my old one handy. And you know, this thing I believe cost about $15, maybe $20, and it's nothing special. It's just your ordinary fish fillet knife. I know Rapala is more of a lure brand, but whatever. The knife has worked great. I've filleted a lot of fish with it. At one time, the sheath had a built-in sharpener in it, but I don't know what I did, but at some point I snapped the end right off of this sheath, and with it went the little sharpener. So I just have to use a different sharpener on this thing. But it works really well, feels good in the hand. It's pretty lightweight. I wouldn't mind a little bit of a heavier handle, but you know what, it works good, and unless I break it or lose it, I'm going to probably go ahead and keep using that for fishing for maybe years to come. Alright, this knife serves me really no practical purpose, but I thought it was really neat, so I bought it. This is the CRKT Sting boot knife. At the time that I got this, I was looking for a fixed blade knife that came in a sheath that I could affix to my belt horizontally. And sure enough, this fit the bill. If you fold these little pieces of Velcro back, it'll wrap right around the belt, and you can carry this thing horizontally on your belt. Problem is that I wear a gun belt, and it's a lot wider than this little Velcro flap. Not to mention that I just couldn't find a real comfortable place on me to wear it. It would have pretty much had to go in the dead center of my back for no part of this thing to poke out from my shirt somewhere, and I just didn't find it comfortable. So I've never used it for the reason I bought it. Instead, I just stuck with the folding knife, which has served me very well. But I just still think it's a really cool knife. It's very sharp. It's heavy. It's very symmetrical. Double-edged blade. There's not a lot of practical reasons for me to use this, but I keep it on hand. I keep it in one of my gear bags just in case. You never know when you might need a knife and you don't have one handy. So I wouldn't buy it again, but if you're looking for a double-edged boot knife that's pretty high quality and has a nifty little sheath, yeah, it's not bad. This boot knife cost about $40. And what kind of knife video would be complete without at least talking about KBAR just a little bit? This is the KBAR short fighting knife. That's what they call this line of knife, the fighting knife. I've never used it for fighting, and I don't suspect that I probably ever will. But no knife enthusiast can resist owning at least one KBAR just for the heck of it. I really like it. I thought that the normal full-size fighting knife was just a little enormous, and I liked the way this one felt in my hand. If I needed a fixed blade knife for doing something in the woods, I think I would prefer my cold steel better because the handle's more comfortable. But this is a nice knife. It's got a good weight to it, good feel to it. I went with the black rubberized handle instead of that sort of deep brown leather handle that KBARs are commonly sold as. My main complaint with this knife, and I know I'm not the only one, is that the hand guard sort of hinders using this knife for carving, things like that, because you can't get really good leverage with your thumb because this part of the hand guard is in the way. I've seen a lot of people online, there's a lot of YouTube videos showing how to do it. They take a Dremel and buzz this part of the guard right off and then file it smooth. I haven't got around to doing that because I don't use this knife for much, but I like it, and it cost $50 exactly, so I said, you know what, that qualifies for the video. Last is actually not just one knife, it is a knife set. It's actually more than a knife set. This is the Outdoor Edge butchering and game processing set. I got this for about $50. It was reviewed very highly. I just got this last year before deer season, and I gotta say I'm pretty impressed with it. For $50, it's a really nice kit. This whole thing probably won't fit real well in the frame right now, so I'll sort of open it up and do the best I can to show you what's inside. Snap it open, all these different snaps, and And you can see there's all sorts of things in here, and I'll just take them out one by one and walk you through it. Right here, this is the Skinner, complete with the gut hook. Pretty good quality, very nice handle. It's just durable, rubberized. The blade feels good. You know, I don't know much about this brand, but the blade's very sharp, and it worked real well skinning a deer. It was very smooth, worked a lot better than my cold steel hunting knife. That much I know. And then also in this set, you know what? This is called a caper. I'm not familiar enough to know what on earth a caper knife is supposed to be for, but it's just sort of a small to medium-sized, more pointy blade that comes in handy for certain applications. I don't know if I was using it for properly capering, but you know what? I really like it anyway. And here's the boning / fillet knife. This is the knife I made a lot of use of. This is what you want to do when you're cutting the hide off and sort of separating quartering the deer, separating the pieces of it. This one actually got the most use out of this whole kit. No deer processing kit is complete without some type of a bone saw. This one's nothing special. It's basic. It's a little flimsy for my liking, but I guess what can you do when you make a bone saw this small to fit in such a little kit? But decent blade, and as long as I wasn't too crazy on the sawing motion, it worked pretty well. I mean, it got through the chest, the ribs there, and the pelvis, and that's pretty much all I used it for. But that's all you need it for. This thing also comes with this knife sharpener. I guess that's kind of cool. I'd use it if I had to, but I have better knife sharpeners than this, so I didn't use this. And it also came with this thing. This is the rib spreader, so you can hold those ribs apart if you don't have a buddy to help you, and while you can get up in there. It just so happened that I did have a buddy available, and that just was more convenient at the time, so I didn't use this thing either. But if I was by myself, yeah, I could see where this comes in handy. And I'm not sure if you can see this in there, but it also provides you this little zippered pocket with a couple of latex gloves. I didn't end up using these because, like a lot of things, I already had that item in my equipment. I have a box of latex gloves ready to go for just such an occasion, so I'll keep that in there just in case. But that's it. This thing, you know, folds and snaps all back up, nice and convenient. Fits right into my my backpack that I take out there. Takes up a little bit of space because it's this whole assortment of stuff. But you know, I don't carry a whole ton of stuff in my backpack when I'm out there anyway, just the essentials. I don't go out hiking 20 miles into the bush when I go deer hunting. I'm usually within a 20 or 30 minute walk of either my truck or some kind of civilization. So I don't pack a lot when I go out there. So this fit in my backpack pretty well. So that's it. That's my my 8 favorite knives that cost $50 or less. Until next time, this is Great Lakes Prepping.